Hello and welcome to Dancers Support Mission by Sabine Chalon for Shine Your Light. Today we have a new episode of Dancer to Dancer Words of Wisdom. The goal of those interviews is to meet the person behind the dancer and share with you all not only the highlights of someone's career, but also the challenges behind the scenes. Truly, my wish is to bring healing into the dance world, dancing to heal, healing to dance, one artist at a time and one personal story at a time. Hopefully, this will allow you to embark or reflect on your own personal journey, inspired by others' experiences. So today, I'm delighted to welcome Adriana Suarez. Adriana, we've met a long time ago when I was dancing in Boston with you. You were a principal then and an amazing dancer, very special ballerina. I'm really grateful that you could take the time to be with me today, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about you. So welcome, Adriana.
Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored. I think what you're doing is quite amazing and necessary. It's essential, especially right now in this culture and this days that we're living. So thank you. And yes, I miss our time dancing together.
That was fun. It was short, but it was fun.
Now we do something else together.
Exactly.
Different.
So Adriana, let's start with the beginning. I would like to know, when you started dancing, why you started dancing, and when you actually decided that this could be a profession for you.
Okay, so originally I'm from Venezuela, and I come from a family that it's all about dance. Both my parents were dancers. My grandmother made dancewear. My aunt danced in the folk company. It was just like dance, dance, dance all around the house. And I actually don't think I made a decision to dance. It was just like the dance called me, and it was that I never had to make a decision. It was just there. It was inside my soul and my blood. And because my parents were dancers and they knew that it's such a hard career, even though I was 3, 4, 5 years old, 6, and I kept begging, can I please, please let me start, put me in class. My parents say, no, no, no. It's too structured, it's too difficult. It's not about pre-ballet and follow the butterflies. And, my mom doesn't really believe in pre-ballet.
Mm-hmm. I completely join her on that because I've done that myself, teaching pre-ballet and
creative dance. No, she thought no, and you're not gonna start in front of the bar slowly doing your tendus and slowly working on the turnout and the alignment of that's too structured for a young person. Mm-hmm. So you need to wait. And I waited, but I watched because I was in the studio. And when I was very young, my nap used to be by the foot of the piano while people were dancing, or on the wings when people were performing. And I was there, and I watched so much that finally, when I was 10 years old, they said, okay, we're gonna let you start. And I went, whoop. I just went because I had seen so much.
And your imagination had registered everything.
Yes, absolutely. So I moved really quickly.
Did you learn with your mom then?
Yes, I did. She was my first teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I guess my mom being my teacher didn't want me to be the little star of the school. She wanted me to like have a little bit of struggle and see other people that were better than me. And so she said, we have to go. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. And my father at that time was making ballet shoes. He had stopped dancing and he was making ballet shoes. He had a small factory in Venezuela.
Ballet as point shoes and soft shoes, or just soft shoes?
Well, he tried with the point shoes, but they're so time consuming to make that he just worked with one assistant. Okay. He didn't have a huge factory, so he could never keep up. So mostly ballet shoes and character shoes, jazz shoes. Okay. But so he stayed in Venezuela, and my mother and I got granted scholarships to come to the States. Okay. And so my mother went on to keep studying more about kinesiology and Alexander technique and just widen her horizons. And I got accepted to the School of American Ballet in New York, where I went.
So how old were you then?
So by then I was 13.
Okay.
Imagine, I started at 10. Yeah. So only 3 years later, but I was moving fast. I was on the fast lane.
Motivated.
And so I went to SAB, and on the side, I still took some other classes with other studios because I wanted more. I had to go to English school because I didn't speak English, and eventually to school, high school.
Right, yeah.
So there I was falling a little bit behind. There I was falling because all I wanted to do was dance. And I was a horrible student, bad at math, terrible. All I wanted to do was dance. And but so time went on and did all that. And when I was 15, I started finding little gigs that I would, because I would go to like open classes in open studios, and people would see me and ask me, are you interested to do so-so? Are you interested? And so that's where I kind of started moving around. This was when I was 15.
But you would do little gigs in classical?
Yes.
I danced, huh?
I danced with Valentina Kozlova and Leonid Kozlov. I danced with Cynthia Gregory and Fernando Bujones. So they would create these small groups and call Cynthia Gregory, Fernando Bujones, and friends. So I was one of those friends. But I would get to do a little solo here and something there. And so that was like amazing. I mean, these were people that I looked up in the books when I was growing up. Yeah. So that was just like an amazing experience.
And then, so what was your
first? And then you want me to keep going? I feel like I'm like, it's an endless story.
Well, it's not endless, but no, I'm curious because actually I don't know that story, so it's really fun.
Yeah, so I had a tour with the Kozlov troupe, and we did our first performance in New York, and then we were supposed to do 3 days later, we were gonna leave and do a national tour throughout many cities in the States. And during those 3 days before we left, I did the performance in New York. And then during those 3 days, I went to take class, keep in shape, of course. And I suffered a horrible injury to my knee.
So how old were you then?
15.
Oh, wow.
I tore my ACL ligament. This is a cross ligament on your knee that holds the bottom of your leg and the quad, the femur and the tibia.
Mm-hmm.
And I tore it, but I didn't know I had done that. And I just fell in class and I had to walk out in crutches. I couldn't wait. My knee got huge. And we waited, rice and ice and whatnot to help it for a whole year. For a whole year, I went to chiropractors, I went to acupuncturists, I went to massage, I went to nutritionists, I went to everything I could, PT, physical therapy. I did everything I could and nothing was working. I kept on dislocating my knee every time, like several times, because I would be a happy young woman going down the steps after class, running, kind of skipping, and my knee would just give in. It would just give out.
But were
many
you diagnosed
times
with a?
I was not diagnosed because I kept waiting. I didn't know what it was. So a whole year went by when my mom said, we have to go to a doctor. It's just that we were trying to avoid surgery. Because, you know, doctors, especially here in the States, tend a lot to like, oh, let's just open up and let's just like, you know, butcher like. So we avoided that, but once the year had gone by and nothing was being solved, we went to the Dr. Hamilton in New York, who was like the big dancer doctor that used to work for the New York City Ballet, that operated on Baryshnikov, et cetera, and he said, okay, well, let's look. At that time, we didn't have the, what you call the magnetic,
MRI.
the MRI. Or maybe there was, but only for elite people. I'm not sure. So he did as microsurgery just to look. And he said, no, your tendon is completely torn. Like you have to have surgery to fix that. That's not PT or acupuncture or any of that is gonna heal. That's impossible.
But in the meantime, you could still dance, so you could come back.
But not really. No, I was doing bar, but anytime Sabine, even if somebody called me from back there and I would just twist my body, my knee would come out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just completely like
it's also such lovely, very small knee, you know. I'm sure you still have them, but they're like fragile, right?
They're very fragile. They're still fragile, especially now that I'm older. I have to take care a lot. No, so he said, you have to have surgery. Are you willing to do the surgery? I said, yes, okay, let's do the surgery, because I wanted to dance. So I had to have the surgery. And so at that time, it was very difficult because my mom and I didn't have insurance in New York.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And so my mom just researched and asked for help. And we finally, the doctor also did an act of charity for me.
Nice.
And I had the surgery. And I was put in a cast from here to my hip, a cast for 3 months after that surgery.
Yeah, it was the old ways, huh?
It was so old, and they had no idea what they were doing. I was really like the guinea pig for the experiment.
That's why it was free.
Exactly. Exactly. My leg was like this when it came out of that cast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started going to PT to rebuild. I tried to come back to class. No fortune. No. My knee was still like, went back to the doctor, had another microsurgery. Said, I looked inside. The operation that I did, it's disappeared. It's gone. It didn't work. The doctor was crying. The doctor was literally tearing. He was so upset. And of course, I was just
So, but, I
horrified.
mean, to repair the ligament, they have to take, they just.
What they did was he took some of my my hamstring.
Wow.
To replace it.
Mm-hmm. And it didn't work.
It didn't work. And I think too, what happened, part of it was that I was still a teenager and I was still growing up, and things are still changing in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for females. That's a very common injury in females because of your hormones changing, and just like when you're pregnant, everything gets super loose. And yeah, so we don't know exactly what happened, but it didn't work. And he said, do you want to do it again? I said, of course I want to do it again. Of course I want to. You want to try? You sure? I said, yeah. And I, never mind, I went to many other doctors. To get other opinions, and they were, oh, you're only 15, 16. Just give up the dancing. Just go to university. Do something else. Yeah. They didn't understand. I would come out bawling. I would be like, no.
That's my life.
That's what I'm gonna do. I was so stubborn. Let's do it again. Did it again. The other surgery. Never mind. This is already, we're talking 2 microsurgeries and 2 big surgeries. Okay.
In 1 year.
In 5 years. Because every time I would have the cast would be 3 months. Then the recovery would be another few months. A year would go by. Yeah. Then I would find out, trying to go to class, that it wasn't working. So and then another surgery. So this whole long story took me 5 years. And by the last time I had the surgery, I was thinking to myself, well, I have to be smart because it's been 5 years. I'm almost now 20.
So wait, the second surgery, it was 5 years later.
Yes.
So for 5 years you struggled trying to come back.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And during those 5 years, I saw so much. And it reminded me kind of like when I was little, going back, just retrograding and only being able to watch and learn by watching. I was in that spot.
At least you have some training in that, right? At least you were able to do that.
So going to the theater literally every night to watch American Ballet Theater, to watch New York City Ballet, to watch the Martha Graham Company. My mom and I always bought standing room tickets, and we were always there. Whose cast is doing it today? Let's watch it again with this other cast. And it was just, I watch and I would be with my crutches while going to the theater. Yeah. Wow. And so I think I still learned a lot.
Of course.
I actually, because sometimes when you don't involved physically, you have time to like learn in another way.
Yeah. And I think actually this is something we should also practice a lot, you know, to when you train young dancers, they need to imagine it first. They need to have an idea of what they want to do if they really want to do it. You know?
A vision, a vision. Yeah. So that was, I guess, part of the only way that I could heal and stay positive was to be able to see all those Makarovas and Baryshnikovs and Gelsey Kirklands and all those amazing artists and be like
inspired.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something like this that gets at least close to that vision. Yeah. And so, but by the last surgery, I was really like, okay, I have to be also like, how do you say, like, true to myself? I cannot keep living in fantasy island and wanting to dance forever and ever if I'm grown. I need to go, I need to make a living, I need to keep moving forward. So I thought, well, after this last surgery, if it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to stop. So it was tough. It was really tough. But I was fortunate and the surgery worked.
Wow. What's amazing is that, you know, even 5 years later, you kind of, I mean, you come back and everything, and then you find a job because, you know, that's another story afterwards. Right?
Yeah. I think the medicine also had in those 5 years advanced. They knew better what to do. And that last one, they took part of my patella tendon. Like they just took a graft, like right underneath the kneecap and placed it where the tendon was torn. Because the tendon cannot be together. They have to replace it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that worked. And then I started getting back in shape, and then tons of Pilates and gyrotonic and this and that and classes. And I started slowly with my mom. I was not at School of American Ballet anymore because, I mean, after all that, I couldn't be. And I got back into shape and I got a gig. And Fernando and Cynthia hired me and I did the show, and Bruce Marks, who was the artistic director in Boston Ballet, came to see the show in New York and invited me for an audition at Boston Ballet, and I got the job.
Nice.
Yeah, finally.
Wonderful. So
it took a lot.
You did your whole career with the Boston Ballet, right?
Yeah, I started when I was 21. I mean, that's late. I lost the 5 years from 15 when you're 20 and you're a dancer. That's like huge.
It's usually when you start becoming a dancer.
Yeah. So 21, I was in the corps. 2 years later, I was promoted to soloist. And 2 years later, I was promoted to principal. And so but I was doing principal roles from before I was a principal. They were giving me, they were nourishing me. They were preparing me. So I got to do a lot. And I was finally in the pot of soup I wanted to be in. Yeah.
But I mean, I remember did you always have knee problem afterwards? I mean, was that
yes? Yes.
I remember that you had.
Want to keep going with the story of the knees?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember that it was like they were fragile, you know, and I always thought, well, because they're so tiny and pretty, you know, of course they're fragile, but I didn't know the whole story behind it.
Well, no. So years later, when I was already a principal with the Boston Ballet, My other knee,
yeah.
I did the same thing to my other knee. And when I did it, I held on to it and I said, I know exactly what this is.
Yeah.
I know exactly what this is. But I had really good support from Bruce Marks. And I had insurance.
That helps.
I had a salary. And I went to Bruce and I said, I know of this doctor, but he's in Colorado, Vail, Colorado, and he does all the surgeries for all the skiers and Olympians over there. And it's just a shoulder and knee clinic. Can I please go there? He says, of course, right away, we send you.
Oh,
Go.
wonderful.
So I had that support.
Yeah.
Which was,
but you also had the knowledge and,
I knew. And then by that time, things were so completely different with technology and science and medicine. And right away, I went over there, I flew, and it was so different. Instead of being in that cast from the hip to the knee, no, right away, they put me on an epidural. So my leg was numb, but I was awake. And they put me in this machine that would move my leg, move it. And I was still on the epidural. So I was not in a cast. It was the machine was moving my leg.
Okay.
Right away, few hours after the surgery, the physiotherapist came up. They put me off the moving machine. They got me up with the epidural down to physical therapy to do therapy with the epidural so that I wouldn't have pain.
Wow. But how long did you keep the epidural?
For like 24 hours.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. And I was doing the exercises already.
What about the pain afterwards when they stop?
Well, they give you medication like that you take. But I was already moving and to get made, especially for my size, like a fiberglass brace that would keep my knee aligned, but allow me to bend and stretch and all my exercises. And then I flew back to Boston and physical therapy, strong every day. And then water therapy. I saw Igor Burdenko. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Water, a lot of swimming, kicking.
So you're an expert in knee injury.
That took me 1 year. The year, it takes about a year to come back. Okay. Yeah. And I came back. And it was good. And I was like, okay, I did it again. Wow. And then, just to end the story of the knees, after I stopped dancing, my right knee, not that I fell or anything, my old knee, the old surgery, started feeling like loose. And I think it's because these surgeries after some time expire. I started feeling kind of weird, loose. And I went and got it checked out and they were like, it's gone. Your ligament is gone. And so I said, okay, let's do it again. And so I did it again on my old surgery, and I did it here in Boston with Dr. McKelly.
Or afterwards?
No, I was not dancing anymore.
Yeah, all right.
I was just teaching. I had already stopped.
Okay.
And that one wasn't a good experience experience become anesthesia, in which they just block your nerve.
Mm-hmm.
They block the nerve. And when they blocked the nerve, I think I had some sort of like student doing it, and he couldn't find it, and he couldn't find it, and he couldn't find the nerve, and he poked me so many times. And I had the surgery finally, and I have nerve damage now on my leg. Like my quad is like super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I move my fingers along my quad, it feels like I'm doing it with a hairbrush. It's all this like nerve damage, even down to my calves. I feel it a little bit on that leg.
But at least
I mean, I function. I can teach. I teach now. I demonstrate what I can, not too much, but
so if we come back to, you know, when you were, you know, learning to be a dancer, and when you started dancing and everything, what was the most challenging thing apart from your injury, maybe, you know, I mean, because I guess that was your biggest challenge, but what was your biggest challenge being a dancer?
yeah, the injuries were definitely challenging. But then, you know, there is the mental aspect of it. I think, like, to stay positive, to stay
Engaged.
on the go, like not to give in, not just as a but as a person,
Of course.
as a person.
Yeah.
You have to be a person before you're an dancer. So, you know, there's always that mental thing in which you have to stay strong. Yeah. I think that was challenging for me. Technically, like as a dancer, or no, nothing really, nothing, because I had my passion. Like I wasn't gonna give in.
Well, it's important. I mean, you know, it's an ingredient that you cannot fabricate, right? You have it or you don't. The drive and the passion.
Exactly.
So it's a huge. I mean, it's a huge part of anybody's success. You know, you have to want it so badly. You know that you're gonna make it happen.
Oh, you have to want it really badly, and that's what I would say to any student. You have to make sure this is what you really, really, really want to do. If you're like wishy-washy,
Yeah, it's not possible.
it's too difficult. It's too hard. No, you have to really, really want it like crazy.
Well, like you proved it. You know, after everything you went through, you had nothing could stop you. That's really inspiring, actually. I didn't know it was just such a struggle, because I mean, 5 years, you have time to think, well, you know, maybe I should do something else, you know.
Yeah. That time I think was super challenging when I was about to have that last surgery in New York. And I said, well, am I gonna have to give this up because I have to be responsible adult and do something else? What am I gonna do if I don't do this? Like I had no clue. And I felt very blessed that I was someone that always knew what I wanted to do. I did not have to think about it. I see so much of the youth that I work with that they don't know. They go to college, they spend so much money, and I still don't know what they want to do. Or they finish college and they decide to do something else. Or they're so unsure. That must be very difficult.
Yeah.
And I cannot understand that aspect. I can't, because I always knew. It
was in your blood.
Yeah, totally.
So talking about this, you know, you knew you wanted to be a dancer. Once you stopped dancing, you know, how was it for you, you know, to transition into something else? I know you're a teacher, and you've done a lot of other things that we can see behind you, you know, what you're executing. I mean,
the gyrotonic.
Gyrotonic machine that is beautiful. But
Gyrotonic everywhere.
So
transitioning was actually okay. It was okay. I did not I can't say that I retired how I wish it would have been. It was not a celebration of my career. There was no celebration. I was not happy how it ended, but I had already been teaching some while I was dancing. And I had been certified for gyrotonic, the body conditioning system. And I did that while I was pregnant with my first child. And so I had that, and I had been doing that on the side, on the weekends, on the one free day that I have had off while I was dancing. I would teach gyrotonic. And I had a lot of opportunity to experiment while I was still dancing, even when I had my second son and I had to take a pregnancy leave. I had opportunity to teach more, and so I had kind of built that platform under my belt before. So it wasn't stop dancing and what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
It was, okay, I'm going to stop dancing, and I had my retirement plan.
And it was another thing that you liked, you know, it was something.
Oh, absolutely.
This is what you were gonna do and what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. And okay, now I wasn't dancing anymore, but I was teaching. I get to pass it on. And I'm still involved. I'm still involved in that ballet world that I love. And then on top, mixing the gyrotonic with the teaching ballet, like I can now not separate one from the other because it's all like so similar.
So your students are very lucky.
Yeah, like I actually have some students that take ballet with me, come to do gyro with me.
Oh, great, that's wonderful.
So we really work like full circle. And yeah, so it wasn't, and I got invited as soon as the directors back then at Boston Conservatory heard that I had stopped dancing. They called me right away. So it wasn't like I had to go hunt for a teaching job. They actually approached me and said, can you come teach? And I was like, yeah, I'll come teach.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was like jobs were falling on my lap. So I was lucky for that. It wasn't like I was like lost in limbo. So it was not a bad transition at all.
So, and you know, the last 2 years were kind of difficult for everybody. So how was it for you, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, you know, in reality?
Horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible because I had to teach remotely during the pandemic. And well, Gino made two ballet bars that are really good. So I would move my machine of gyrotonic away, place my bar, get my camera, get the whole, like the studio looked like a CNN or like a TV studio with the big screen so that the students could see me because we had to teach remotely. The poor students were in their little dorm bedroom holding onto the bed.
I know.
To try and
with a
oh
slippery
my
floor.
God. You couldn't jump because I wasn't going to ask them to jump in a hard floor in the room. You couldn't, it was so limited. And then at the same time, I wanted to give them my time and I wanted to talk to them and give them ease.
Support them, right?
Of their, yeah. And at the same time that was going on here, in my kitchen downstairs was another bar with my husband, Gino, teaching down there too. We used to put a Marley. We bought Marley. We unroll Marley on the floors. We bought screens. You name it. And then over there was another TV studio in the kitchen, holding onto the stove for the bar, wherever you could.
Yeah.
And then my two children, teenagers already, were up in their rooms, going to school remotely as well.
So you needed internet.
Well, we had to like buy the most expensive internet that we could find so that everybody could work. And then there was a teaching for me. Music is so important. I like to be very musical. And there was always that delay. So I couldn't ask for my students to be on the music. I couldn't.
I knew that video. It was so challenging. And then you're like, okay, yeah, one count later. I know, but that's normal.
Yeah. So that was harsh. That was harsh. And then I actually got COVID. We all had COVID later. I got really sick, and after COVID, I was still having a hard time. Like I would do anything, brush my teeth, and I would get out of breath. But I'm fine now. Everybody's fine. Hopefully we'll stay fine. We're all vaccinated. We're all boosted.
So, yeah. I mean, but work started again anyway, like before, right? You went back.
Work started again. We're not wearing masks here.
That's nice.
We're not wearing masks. If you go to a hospital or you wear a mask, they ask you to wear a mask, but not for class, which is nice. It's finally nice to see people's expression.
And also for them to breathe. I mean, I can't imagine that it's good for the dancers to.
Yeah, very difficult. It's been very challenging. And now I feel fine. I'm healthy, but I think I was left with anxiety. I think I was left with anxiety. Like I'm still trying to
I think a lot of people
cope with that.
To deal with this and
sleeplessness and so just trying to do meditation, trying to tender loving care for you have to breathe deeply.
Yeah. Oh, Adriana, to wrap this up, I would like to ask you one last question. So if you had only one advice to a new student, to a young student now that is going to start their career, what would that be?
That they're going to start their career? Someone that's going to start?
Yeah.
I think I said it earlier. I make sure you really have the passion. Because then that will take you along.
So what if they say to you, but what is it to have the passion?
I always felt like that passion was like some greater force in the universe. I don't want to say God because I'm not really religious, even though I was brought up Catholic. I don't want to say it's the Buddha, even though I love all that philosophy. But there is some greater energy that calls you. It just calls your name. I don't know what it is. It's not a teacher that said anything to me. It's not a parent. It's not a friend. It's just, I don't know, something that it's like nature. It's like nature. It just, that is a passion. It's something unexplainable.
I always say to students, you have to find your why you're dancing. And if you can't find why, I mean, why, because you have to, why, because this is what you want to do. That you wake up in the morning, you have a plan in your head, this is what you want to do. You have to know why you're going to work that hard.
Yeah.
And that's like this passion, right? This passion is like, it answers every questions that you have. It's like, it doesn't go like but it just goes like, no, that's what I want, that's what I want, that's what I want, this is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah.
So,
I feel it's like almost like it's, like, how do you want to express yourself? Do you want to sing? Is that how you want to express yourself? Do you want to act like somebody else because you're an actor and that's how you want to express yourself? Do you want to dance? Because that's how you want to express it can be so many different things. You want to be a doctor because you want to help. You want to help to heal someone. Anything that is an expression. You express. So if you're a little baby and you start going blah, 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 and then you get a little toddler and you start saying mama, mama, and then you eventually find all your language as you get older. And then even as you get older and wiser, maybe your vocabulary expands. But it's an expression. You learn to do that because it's a need. It's a need. Yeah.
all right. That's great. Exactly. It's like you have to have to do it.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a must. It's like an itch. I tell people you have to have the bug.
Yeah.
You get a bug. You get a bug. And if you don't have the bug in you,
it's not gonna work.
mm-mm.
Okay, Adriana, thank you so much for
Thank you, Sabine. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Well, I wish you the very best.
Let's keep healing and shining the light.
Thank you so much. That's it.
It's still recording, I think.